your boos mean nothing to me because I've seen what makes you cheer is what comes
Yes.
to my mind, and that's something that I swear to God I repeat to myself, a lot.
It's all about us, and it's time to bow down. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Bow Down. Dennis, as always, so lovely to see you and lovely to dive into today's episode. I'm really excited to be chatting about this article that you found.
Yeah, I'm so excited to share this. I have no idea where it's going to go, and it's always you're looking lovely as always today. Just want to
Thank you.
acknowledge that first and foremost. Yeah, so I happened to come across this. It just popped up on my notifications. It was a Substack post, and I think we'll put a link to it just
Yeah.
to give the author credit. I think as we talk about this, I'm curious I'm curious your reaction. I'm curious my reaction and how sort of we interact on that and if it changes anything, but also
Yeah.
curious what our listeners find to be true, untrue, where do they agree, where do they disagree? But I want to be clear. The goal is not to somehow shame or be derogatory towards this creator. There's nothing wrong with talking about these things, and people have
Right.
these opinions, and it's valid, and so there's no shade here, at least not
Yes.
in my mind, and we may not like what is said, and we may not agree with what is said, but this is not there's I don't want anyone to, while we will put a link, I don't want people like brigading or like,
Not
oh,
at all.
this
Yeah.
anything like that. Like, that's not what
This
this is
is
about. It's about discussion and
absolutely
conversation.
right to give credit to the author, but and so people have the source material if they're curious about reading it for themselves, or sharing it with anybody, but absolutely please do not send any vitriol or hate towards anybody ever that we ever talk about. That hopefully just goes without saying, but of course on the internet it's good to
Well,
remind people sometimes. But
things
yes,
that go without
absolutely.
saying, sadly, are not said enough. So,
Right. Right.
unfortunately. So let's just dive right in. I know so to be transparent to the audience, I had shared a little bit of this with you just
Mm-hmm.
to get a feel for it, but the vast majority you have not seen. So
Yes.
when I share it with you, it'll be live. So we'll get to see our reactions together. And honestly, I read it quickly. I haven't studied it or
Okay.
thought about it. So we'll get some um,
Yeah.
I don't really remember most of the points, so it'll be interesting as we go through here. Awesome. So the title of the article was 10 Things Women Never Admit But Always Notice. And the subtitle is She Won't Tell You, But Her Body Already Knows. Dot, dot, dot. Um, so why don't we start with that? I mean,
Yeah.
before we even go into I read more, just what does that bring up for you?
For me,
Uh,
I am like, so the author is a man, right? Or at
I
least a
believe so.
masculine name. So I suppose we don't know, but taking that it's a masculine name, I just would never imagine that a woman would ever write something like this. However, a woman is the only one qualified to write something like this. If you're making blanket statements about any sort of group, the only person qualified to say 10 things that like name group here thinks or does or believes or anything at all. One, huge generalization. Already, like, we can rhetorically criticize the black and white thinking, just regardless of whether or not you agree with the actual conclusions. Rhetorically, it's a fallacious title. Because it's like anytime you think all women or all any group, it's like, that's just wrong. That's not true. Can't be all. But also, it's like, I just can't imagine writing something and saying like, well, all men do XYZ. I would never do that. And if I was going to write an article like that, I would make damn sure that I had interviewed a bunch of men, that there are quotes from men, that there are researchers that are men, and same thing that it's like if you had a white person writing an article that says 10 things all black people won't admit to, the flags would raise, because that would be insane. And I think most people probably have that reaction to this title as well. And then the other thing I want to point out is that it is not just one person outside of this group generalizing an entire group. It's also someone in a place of power over this group, right? It would, I still think, be a little bit different, even though me as a woman writing an article about all men, I still would want to make sure that I'm not overgeneralizing and referencing and pulling knowledge from men. But even then, at least if it was punching at all, it would be punching up. A man writing about women is inherently always going to be punching down. And to go back to the, if a white person is writing something about all black people, it's like, that's a hell of a punch down. And I think that the power dynamic amongst groups is necessary to point out there too, that it's like, not only are you not a part of this group, that you are hyper generalizing, but also you are in a major position of power based on the systemic patriarchy and power structures that we live within.
Yeah, I think that's so well said. For me, I mean, immediately, even as I saw those, so I mean, obviously, to me, it's a pretty, it's a pretty standard title for
Yeah.
these types of articles, right? I mean, you have the number, this, that, always, boom, and then the subtitle. I mean, so it's very punchy from
Yes.
a marketing perspective. You always have a number because you want to people want to you want to see immediately if it's worth your time. And this idea, so obviously we know who the audience is just from those first two
Yes.
lines. To me, it's certainly not women. And to me, what came up for me, even as I read those first two lines before I read anything else, was back, oh God, 30 years ago, I think it was, like the pickup artist culture was like
Yeah.
the internet was just starting, and like pickup artist culture was like, like negging and using NLP and things like that, like
Very
and I
early
remember,
2000s, that
yeah,
vibe.
late 90s actually. Because I remember it was probably in the late 90s when I read about it, and I mean, I'll be vulnerable and say, yeah, I read all this stuff. I was interested in it, but it never clicked. I mean, it never clicked with me because it seemed like nonsense to me. Like
Yeah.
it seemed reductive even then. And listen, I was a very different person 30 years ago. I certainly was not the man I am today. I'm proud of who I've become, but part of that was that journey. But even then, even in my when I was young and dumb and really didn't understand people or relationships as if I do now, but maybe I'm a little better. I didn't believe it then, and even reading it now. But it's interesting what it brought up in me, because I actually got angry
Yeah.
a little bit reading this. Angry for men who believe this. Um,
Mm.
Angry for women who have to deal with men who think that this is true, and have to deal with the dating scene, which I can only imagine the morass that is. So, um, all right, so let's go through this 10 things women never admit, but always notice. So number one starts out hot and heavy with how other women look at you. You think she didn't notice that hostess eye fucking you like you were the only ribeye in the steak restaurant. She clocked it. She saved it. She's already planning your execution. And you thought she was just sipping her water. No, she was calculating. Women are better at threat detection than the Pentagon. She saw the glance, the giggle, the micro-adjusted hair tuck, and now you're on trial. So that's number one. So thoughts? Just hearing that.
I mean, automatically it sets up this dichotomy of um insecurity amongst women, and women necessarily competing with other women. And it is just such an antiquated, like 90s, early 2000s kind of form of understanding womanhood. And I think we've talked about this in the past, but I think particularly in our Devil Wears Prada episode, we touched on it, about how we've really grown past like feminism being about women having the freedom and opportunity to act like men. And it's no, no, no. Womanhood and femininity in and of itself is valuable, and that's why women need to be each other's best allies. And I think we're really starting to move into an era of like, are you a girl's girl? You know, do you go to bat for your girls first? And when like you hear about a partner cheating, does that person get mad at their partner who committed the transgression against the relationship that you had entered into? Or do you get mad at the woman that they cheated on you with? Right. And I think we are moving to start to see it's like, no, they're going to be mad at you, not the woman. Not always, but I think we're moving in the direction of like, that's a healthy response. And I think it's interesting that it's almost this like pedestaling of the man that it's like, well, of course, this hostess that's seating you, who's probably just being nice, just doing her job and tucked her hair behind her ear, is not doing anything weird. And who says that you're some prize? Like, obviously, we don't know this hypothetical man that's being written about, but it's like, I'm sorry, the hostess is at work. Like, she's doing her job. If she's laughing and seating y'all, it's like she is literally doing her job. And if that makes your partner insecure or jealous, you know, I do think that's something to then bring up with your partner and be like, ooh, hey, this thing just peaked for me. I realized I got like a little jealous there. Can we talk about that? Because same thing with cheating. Like, cheating is a symptom of a larger issue in the relationship. The same way I think jealousy is an issue, is a symptom of a larger issue in the relationship. Like, are you wanting your partner to stay insecure in your relationship so that she feels like she has to constantly be winning you over, constantly pleasing you, constantly fighting for your affection because you are some prize? Or do you want your partner to have a secure functioning attachment to you because you're partners and you don't want to be in an abusive relationship?
Yeah, I agree. And what I noticed, couple of things. I mean, clearly it's written for men. I mean, just this idea, I love ribeye. I mean, but to me, just this idea, like you're the only ribeye in the steak restaurant. Like, I don't think I don't think any, I don't want to say any, I don't want to generalize, but I don't think that that's something that would resonate for most women in terms of like, oh, it's the last ribeye in the rest. Like, I'm sure there's some out there and, I want to hear from you because I love ribeye too. But that to me, that just doesn't, that just again shows the audience. I also want to know, we've talked about, biblical women. We talked about Devil Wears Prada. I mean, we've talked about this a lot, but just notice how it's already framing the woman as the she's calculating. She's she's better at threat detection. Now you're on trial. I mean, again, notice the adversarial stance that it shows. I agree with everything you said in terms. I mean, number one, and also it plays to the male fantasy here, right? Like,
Yeah,
oh,
totally.
like, oh, everybody's eye fucking me because I'm so great. And I mean, whatever, that's fine. It's okay to have that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be attractive. There's nothing
Right.
wrong with wanting to be desirable. To me, though, and I'm curious what you think about this. To me, it's something to do with what this hostess, or I mean, for instance, a waitress. I mean, she wants tips, so
Right.
like, of course she's like, duh. Like, you really think the cart girl at the golf course likes you guys? You really think she thinks your jokes are funny? She doesn't.
Right.
Here's a shock. She thinks you're a bore, most likely, and she wants your tips. And so she's sweet and she smiles. Just I hate to break your illusion here, but so I notice it. But to me, it has nothing to do with what the hostess or the waitress or the server or whatever does. It's how the partner responds. Like, that to me is where the focus should be, not on this other woman checking somebody out, or vice versa. Even if it was the other way around, if the sexes were reversed in this situation as a male hostess, like, it's all about how does the partner respond? Because that's where you can't. People get this idea. Oh, that's a boundary of mine, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
well, boundaries are what you do, what you
Yes.
tolerate, not what. It's not about what other people do. I don't tolerate. Well, you can say, hey, I don't like the way. I love what you said. Like, there's a part of me that got jealous when she behaved like that, and let's to acknowledge that. But you know, did the partner, did the other, it was a first date sitting at the table. How did they respond? Because that to me shows their value. How they responded to that shows who they are. And that's what you should get mad at. That's what you should, if how you respond is how you're on trial, not the fact that there was a glance or anything else. It's how you responded to it. And it's not that
Yeah.
you're on trial. But if anything, so I'm curious. So if you were on I mean, a date, or, maybe it's somebody you've been seeing for a little while, maybe not a committed husband, 3-year
Sure.
relationship, but relatively new relationship, and this situation occurs. What would you put here instead? Like, I'm sure you're going to notice that this hostess or waitress, server, whatever, is flirting with your date. Possibly, unless, like me, I'm oblivious. I don't know when anybody's flirting with me in general, but that's my own neurodivergent tell. So
Right, right.
you have to kind of smack me in the face to do that. But I don't know. What would you? How would you rewrite this? I guess
Yeah.
what would I'm curious if we were to rewrite this in to our liking, or to our viewpoint. How would you? How
Yeah.
would you?
I do think that it's interesting to think about it on like a relatively early date, because I almost wouldn't. It's an early date. It's like, if we haven't had the conversation about exclusivity, do you necessarily want to see it right in front of you? No, that is kind of a respect thing that, it's like, if he had flirted back, that would be an issue, because it's like, okay, we're on a date, dude. But it's like, hey, she's allowed to flirt with whoever, and he doesn't necessarily need to be like, oh yeah, and my girlfriend or this person I'm on a date with. That it's like, if you're in a committed relationship, you might expect a like, if someone was like hardcore hitting on you, you might expect a, oh, and this is my girlfriend, or a, and this is my wife, to try and kind of make it obvious without making them embarrassed that, what the reality of the situation is. But first through, maybe I'd even say like fifth date, it's like, I don't really need a conversation about it. Someone's allowed to think you're cute. They're allowed to flirt with you. Even in a marriage, they're allowed to think you're cute. They're allowed to flirt with you. However deep my connection is with that man would then impact what I would want to see. So yeah, first through fifth date, I don't really care. This is just for fun. If you blatantly flirted back when you're supposed to be interested in me right now, that'd be rude. But I would say, after we've had the conversation of exclusivity, but it's still pretty casual, I would probably want a, like, sitting down at the table and being like I might even want to be the one to say like, oh, she clearly thought you were cute, to try and like bring it up, but in like a joking way that's like, yeah, I'm with the cute guy. Like, I'm dating the really cute guy at the restaurant, aren't I? Because it is kind of a compliment if someone flirts with you or hits on you or thinks you're attractive, as long as it's appropriate and not uncomfortable or violating in any way. Because of course, again, flip on the other side, it's like the male fantasy might be wanting to be I fucked, but as a woman, I'm like, that screams danger in my mind, that it might not for a man. So all of that aside, it's like, I think it can be, I think the seriousness with which the author writes about this too is kind of crazy, because it's like, you're already on trial. And I'm like, for what? Who is, what executioner do we need to bring out for something that this man didn't do? Like, and you are automatically assuming that just with how she sips her water, she's having some crazy psycho bitch reaction. Why are you assuming that reaction? If someone's upset about it, if your partner's upset about it, on them to say, hey, this thing made me upset. Let's talk about it. I don't think the man really needs to do anything unless there is a commitment, and then they probably need to address it just to like diffuse any tension and make it's like the waitress slash hostess may not know, right? So just to like clarify whatever boundary might that they want with that service person for the rest of the evening. But beyond that, I'm like, it's just not that deep.
Ah, I like that, and I would almost change it to instead of how other women look at you, she may you might be watching how you respond to
Yeah,
other women looking at you as a man. So if I were to rewrite this, I would write it to men, not talking, saying, "Hey, how do you respond as a man if a woman does flirt with you at a restaurant while you're with your well, even if it's a first date?" I actually don't. I mean, I get what you're saying about exclusivity, and I totally agree with that. But even on a first date, I think it's rude to um to give that kind of attention to somebody else,
to
even if
flirt
there's
back
no
would be, yeah.
to flirt back. To me, that's disrespectful. Even if there is no connection, it's a first date, it's a
I
tip,
agree.
whatever, and like, hey, this isn't going to go anywhere. To me, that's disrespectful. I mean, it's there's and so that's what I would say. And if your response is to just do nothing and you're clearly not engaging, but and your date is still upset about it and like, oh, I can't believe at that point, that's an insecurity thing in my view. Like,
Yeah,
because look at the meaning that, I would put no meaning on that. Okay, cool, whatever.
right.
But all of a sudden now, if there's this violent, if the response here is true, so if somebody on a date is clocking it, saving it, planning the execution, I would question wanting to be with that person in the first place
Yeah,
because that seems very, very insecure. Like I cannot control what other people do. I can only control how I respond and what I do in response to what they do.
yeah,
I can't stop somebody from. I can say, please don't do. You've made that's I'm not very comfortable.
right.
There's things I could do, and maybe that's a conversation you have. But okay. Any other thoughts on this one before we move to number two?
No, I agree with you. I agree.
Cool, cool. All right. Number two, your shoes. You could have six-pack abs and a jaw carved by Roman gods, but if your shoes looked like you mugged a middle schooler or coached t-ball for fun, she's already dried up like communion crackers. Shoes are soul windows. They scream, do you care? Do you have taste? Do you know how to dress your bottom half? Or are you a walking mistake from the ankle down? She notices and she judges in silence and then never fucks you again.
So I had read number one, and then only the first sentence of number two, I think, was what you sent. And for all of these things to be reduced to a woman's sexual interest, I think is just such a self-report that it's like, well, that's all you're interested in about women. That it's like she's judging you based on your sexual value because of these things. And I'm like, hey, man, ever thought that maybe how you take care of your shoes is actually an indication of how you take care of yourself? Someone who doesn't put themselves together. It's like I would never judge someone for like not having style or maybe being a little dated, but I judge someone's hygiene. I judge someone's ability to like if there's so this is a funny story. I don't think my friend would mind me telling this story. I have a really good friend, and he's a very successful, like, corporate business guy, and he's a few years older than me. And the shoes that he wore were black canvas Vans, and he wore them so often that he wore holes in the toe of the shoe where his big toe like hit the canvas on the top of the shoe. And me and my girlfriends that are all friends with him were like, this is a problem. Our friend manages a team of like 30 people. He is a successful businessman and leader that is getting promoted in his company like regularly. He can't have holes in his shoes. And we know that he wears these shoes to work because we've seen him in his work clothes and these are the shoes he wears. So for his birthday, we bought him a pair of shoes. We all collectively saved up our money, or not really saved up, but like pooled our money, and bought him a pair of leather black shoes that looked similar to his other ones. And it's like, you clearly like these shoes a lot, but they're going to wear nicer because they're leather. They're going to look nicer because they're leather. And you look more professional. You look more put together. And I would never judge someone who doesn't have the finances to do certain things, but I do judge someone who doesn't take care of themselves and who doesn't take care of their things. And there's a difference there. But does that have any bearing on someone's sexual attractiveness? It's like, also, that's just like a values thing to me, and I probably don't want to be in a relationship with you if you don't take care of your things. Because when I buy something, I want to buy something that's nice quality, that's going to last with me for a while, and I take care of it because I want it to last as long as possible. And also, if I'm in a professional setting, I want to look professional because I want to, you know, be treated as professional. And it's just like kind of a self-love thing too. Like, even though we shouldn't judge people on their appearance at all, we know they do, but how do you feel? Like, I feel different when I put on a pair of heels than when I put on a pair of sneakers, than when I put on a dress, than when I put on my sweatpants. All of those feelings are valid. But I'll tell you, on the days that I feel really good about myself, I'm usually not putting on my old paint-stained sweatpants. And I think it's indicative of how you feel about yourself. And so if someone's walking around with some busted-ass shoes, yeah, I might be like, not that I think they're a bad person, but maybe they don't take care of themselves as much as I think they deserve to be taken care of.
Interesting. Interesting. Um, yeah, I mean, so a couple of things that come up for me as somebody who, was in corporate America for many, many years. Um, you're talking about your friend with the shoe. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you on that. Like, I would never uh, uh, I won't wear something that has holes in it,
Right.
unless it's meant like. But again, that I don't judge somebody who does because I think it could be kind of cool, but I wouldn't wear it to work. But in any case, I mean, you know, I'm kind of two minds because as somebody who I love boots. I am a uh, I am a boot aficionado, I guess you would say, and in terms of, I mean, I still have boots I bought 30 years ago, literally, that have been
Yeah.
resold a couple of times because I believe in quality and being able to wear them, long term,
Yeah.
so I get that. To me though, I just I again it reduces women. I don't disagree with having, reasonably good looking shoes. I don't know the mugging a middle schooler coaching T-ball. Like, you might like bright, shiny Converse or something. The holes are one thing, but like, if it matches the outfit, if you like it, if it's comfortable, you know, go for it. Like, to me, it's kind of, it's a little bit, um, it might be worth some people might not know. Like, that's the
Yeah.
funny part about it. Like, it could be, I don't know about your friend. Maybe he doesn't even realize that this is something that people might, frown upon. And maybe until, again, or maybe he doesn't care, which is also valid.
Right.
I mean, you can, yeah, both are valid. Um, but it may be that, hey, I didn't even realize it was a big deal. Like, but again, it's just, to me, the tone here dried up like communion crackers, now, again, like, somebody who was that, I mean, to me, whether it was, again, whether I were to judge a woman I was dating because of the shoes she was wearing, and oh my gosh, those shoes don't go with. She's wearing flats. I can't believe, whatever the case is. Like, I mean, actually, I value somebody who values comfort. Like, I
Yeah.
think it's important to be comfortable, especially on first date. Of course, we all want to present. Well, I should
Right.
think we want to present our best self, but so. Yeah, I mean, I guess again, I feel like this there is some true. I would put this one as, if this was sort of the Snopes website of, like, true or
Yeah.
like, the first one I would definitely put on the false side. Like, this is
Yes.
that they're, that this is not necessarily good advice. To me, this one,
Yeah.
there's some truth here in terms of everything I think we've articulated. Like,
Yeah.
but to me, it's just hey, show up and look good. Like, you know, I
Yeah.
mean, you know, or
One
own
thing
what you're doing, you know?
I was gonna that what you said made me think of was like the middle school kind of piece specifically. It's like, no, I don't know if he's trying to imply that, like, kind of like having a fancy sports car, having like really nice shoes, that it's like, oh, those are clearly like Gucci loafers or whatever. To me, it's like, it is not about how much you're spending on these pieces or on your shoes or on clothes or on personal care. It's about how you take care of yourself and how you take care of your things. Um and so it is that like money versus quality piece too. But yeah, I completely agree that it's like there's a nugget of truth there, that it's like, yeah, I think not just women, but actually all people probably want to be around people that take care of themselves, you know? And that's true. But why are we equating this to how fuckable a woman thinks you are and that all women care? Because I guarantee you, there have been men that have worn crazy clown shoes that have still gone home with someone that night.
Yeah, well,
It's
I mean,
like
isn't the confidence to, like, if you wear shoes that are so outrageous, there's a confidence factor involved.
conversation starter.
Confidence to me, I think is sexy too, right? You know, knowing, like,
Totally.
yeah, I chose these, like, because I love them and I want,
Yeah.
this is who I am. Like, I like my purple, you know, running whatever it
Well,
is. I
and you
don't
know
know, you
what?
know.
I'll call myself out too. For a friend's wedding last year, I found this black dress that I really loved, felt great in, but I was like, oh, but it's black. Like, maybe I'll find a really cool pair of shoes that'll add like a pop to the black dress. Not that there's anything wrong with the black dress. Everyone needs an LBD, but I tend to like wearing color and being a little bit more creative with my outfits than just a black dress. So I found these bright cherry red boots that had like, they were chunky platform heeled boots that had buckles over the top. And I thought they were the coolest thing. And my friends were so split on them. And half of my girlfriends were like, that's awesome. Those are so cool. And then the other half of my girlfriends were like, those are kind of out there. Are you sure you want to wear those to a wedding? And for me, I was like, I feel comfortable wearing these to a wedding. They're nice shoes, they're heels, they go with my dress. I feel appropriate. Thank you for, the thought. And it was a conversation starter. And I know that there are probably people at that wedding that thought that they were ridiculous shoes,
Oh
but
my God,
also,
can you believe her shoes? Oh my God. Oh,
right?
the audacity.
The
Oh,
audacity. But it's like, also, there were people, men and women, who came up to me that were like, oh my God, I love your shoes. And it's like, thanks. It goes both ways too.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Number 3, and well, I won't, uh, I think so number 1 we said was on the we disagreed. Number 2, there's certainly some truth in it. Let's
Yeah.
see where this one falls. I think I know where it falls, but I'm curious for you.
Okay.
So number 3, the tone you use with waiters. You could be charming, powerful, and fun, but snap your fingers at a server like you're in 1883 and she'll mentally start swiping on your replacement before the appetizers arrive. You just turned into her dad, the one she avoids, the one who only says thank you when prompted by gunpoint. I'm looking at your face. I'm very curious what you're going to say.
So, you just turned into her dad is an interesting phrase there, but if you snap your fingers at a waiter, yeah, you best believe I am already swiping on your replacement,
Oh
not
God,
because
yes.
of
Oh,
anything to do with sex or anything else, but because you're a douche. You suck. I wouldn't be friends with someone. If someone snapped at a waiter when I was at a table with them, I would immediately get up, pay my bill, and like tip the waiter like 300%, apologize to the waiter, and then leave whoever the hell that idiot is because I don't want to be associated with them. Are you joking? Yes, 100%. You just turned into her dad is an interesting thing to say because I'm like, my dad would never do that. If
yeah. I was going to say that exactly. Like, I would never in my life ever do that. So
Right.
like my daughter certainly would, I should hope, never do that. And by the way,
No.
this is not this is to me is a gender blind one. Like
Yeah.
if a because I mean if a woman did the same thing, I would be mortified.
Yeah.
Like, you
I
know,
would be
if I were
appalled.
like, because how you treat that just shows who you are, you know, to me. So
Exactly.
this one, I think, I don't know that there's, it is interesting how, again, though, you just turned into her dad. So this says something, this may be telling about the type of, you know, I don't know, the women that this individual dates or
Right.
sees, like that they have daddy issues. Maybe they're
Well, and
seeking. I
it's
don't know, you know.
also interesting that, like, the article is certainly, like, it's toned in this way that it's like you said, the pickup artist kind of, like, playing women, and it makes me think that they disagree with how the women are acting in all of these, hypotheticals that they're writing, and I'm kind of like, do you disagree with that? Would you snap your fingers at a waiter, Mr. Author? And you disagree with someone judging you? Like, or is he just trying to explain that that is how a woman's going to react? Which I'm like, I think any sane person would be like, this is a gross person. I don't want to be with them, or associated with them or spend time with them. But it's like, is that such a bad response? Why are you writing about that? I thought that was a universally accepted truth that, like, you should be nice to everyone, including service people.
Yeah. Don't be a dick. Like
Yeah.
there's no need to be. There's especially no need to be a dick to somebody who's serving you your food. Like
Right.
A and B, it's just not a smart thing. Like
Yeah.
you know, I mean, just in general, like be nice to people to handling your food, just as a
Yes.
general rule. I mean, now I worked at Domino's and I would never do anything to somebody's food, but you know, I wouldn't, you know, I just don't think it's a good idea to be mean to
Yeah.
anybody, but especially if they're going to be handling your food, like
Right.
this. So I mean, I do think I agree with this one. I would
Yeah.
put this one in a check mark. Like, good on you, author. Yeah,
Yeah.
all of
And
our
it
listeners.
kind of makes me be like, yes, I agree.
I don't know
Like,
if I should agree. I don't know if it
right.
turns me, didn't turn into, hopefully doesn't turn you into her dad, but you know,
Right.
anyway, that's it's kind of a bizarre one,
Yeah.
actually, but all
Yeah.
right, let's, I think this one we can agree on. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
don't be a dick to to anybody, really, if you
To
can avoid
anyone.
it. Like,
Yeah.
just be nice. Like it's other people, it's a nice thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Golden rule, heard of it? Like, you know, do
Yeah.
unto others as you would want them to do unto you.
Truly. Truly.
All right. So number 4, interesting. So number 4, the way other men react to you. You think she doesn't notice that other men don't respect you. You think she didn't feel the room ignore you like a fart at a funeral. Wrong. She noticed, and her vagina dried up out of secondhand embarrassment. She doesn't need you to be the alpha in every room, but if no one listens when you talk, if men don't defer, don't lean in, don't respect the way you move, you just became her gay best friend who smells like Axe and has a dream catcher tattoo.
I'm so confused by this person. I'm like, is Axe a gay thing? Like, aside from all of the other things that it talks about, but I'm like, I thought Axe was a very clearly middle school boy who doesn't know how to put on deodorant but is putting on too much Axe thing. So that's
I feel
funny
like it belongs
that
with I think it belongs with the shoe one, frankly. Like,
yeah.
you know, maybe. I mean, you know, or its own category about wearing Axe. Like,
It's like, what?
But again, to me, that's maybe, you know, I mean, Axe is inexpensive compared, maybe you
Yeah.
can't afford cologne.
Yep.
I don't know, you know, you want to smell good. I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, so yeah, that's
terms
weird.
of
But keep going,
the-
keep going.
Yeah, in terms of like the confidence and alpha thing, of course, I mean, listeners and those who know me, and you're gonna know exactly my thoughts on that. It's just, I mean, confidence is attractive, yes. A leader is attractive, yes. I think there is something inherent about that. If someone just blatantly ignores my partner, I'm not thinking, oh, they've lost respect. I'm thinking, well, that person was kind of rude to my partner, right? It's like this there's really a lot of placement on um like these unspoken rules that I am just such a proponent of. Well, we need to speak these things, and in any sort of healthy relationship, whether that's a friendship, family relationship, romantic, or otherwise, if you have feelings about it, you should say them. And there is just such an expectation that the woman is not going to tell you anything. She's not going to tell you her thoughts. She's not going to tell you her feelings. She's just going to, her vagina's going to go dry, which it's like always, why is that the thing?
Like communion crackers,
Right,
apparently.
right. I'm like, why does the author keep going there? Because it's just reducing women to their sexual use, objectifying them, right? And that they'll just disappear and you won't have this person to use as a sexual object anymore if you don't do all these other things, and you don't know why because she doesn't tell you. And it's like, actually what I think is going on here when you have the things that women won't tell you, this is something I'm coming to now, is, oh, that's a self-report that you suck, and women have probably tried to tell you things in the past about how your behavior sucks, but you don't want to listen to a woman's thoughts or feelings. And so when those women leave, because you are ignoring them and the things that they're saying, you're making up all these stories about how actually she's unreasonable and you're good. And these are the ways that you need to still be good to keep these women, when any rational human being is going to tell you when they have thoughts and feelings. And if you don't know the inner workings of a woman's mind, it's because you're not listening. It's because you're not listening. You're not asking questions, you're not having a conversation, and you're not listening. And not just a woman, anyone. Anyone.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do think there is a lot of, I mean, I think communication can be difficult sometimes. And I
Yeah,
think
totally,
a
totally.
lot of, I think what you're describing is a healthy, good relationship where people can
Yes,
communicate in that way. Um, and I think you're right. I think I know it's certainly a mistake I've made in my life. I'll self-report. Like,
same. Me
I
too.
wasn't ready to hear something. Um, people would try, women or men, I mean, other people, not just women. I mean, other people would give advice or give thoughts or even mention things, and I wasn't in a place to hear it. And of course, somebody doesn't listen to you a couple of times, you're going to stop talking about that. You're going to stop, oh, well, you don't hear me anyway, so why am I going to bother? There's no point in me saying it. I'm screaming it from the rooftops. And I've definitely been guilty of that. Um, and I think you make a good point in terms of, are you open? Are you available? Um, you know, uh, are you receptive to hearing like these things? I want people to tell me when
Right.
they see things. Like, I want to know how I can improve. Now, sometimes I forget. Like, it takes a lot. My ADHD brain will forget things if I'm not focusing on it. And so sometimes I need to be told a few times or
Yeah.
reminded, like, hey, because I just don't notice things. But eventually it sinks in, and it's about knowing the person's heart too.
Yeah.
I guess I disagree, like, this idea, though, of no one listens when you talk. If men don't defer, don't lean in, don't respect the way you move. I don't know what that means as
Yeah.
somebody who's been around for 50 years. Like,
Yeah.
I don't,
You,
I
yeah.
don't pound the table. I talk, but I don't pound the table. I think people listen, but I also realize I can talk too much. So I try, I think there's a value in shutting up and letting other people have the
Yeah.
floor and listening a little bit,
I love that. You know what I
Um,
will say too? I care way more about how other women respond to a man than how other men respond to a man.
Interesting.
Because if I'm, you know, I don't know, I'm like, it's been so long since I've had a boyfriend, but if I theoretically had a boyfriend and brought him around my friends and all the guys are like, yeah, he's chill, he's cool, he's whatever, normal dude, and the girls are like, I don't know. there was just something that's like, he kind of talked over me, and he, you know, didn't really seem to care what I had to say, but really cared about our guy friends. Or it's like, is he opening the door for people and, being kind? It's like, if there are certain things that I think women do pick up on in terms of like the gender dynamic that men just don't always, because they're not the ones experiencing the negative side effects of it. Understandably so, but it's like that's part of the learning of trying to be able to um, be an active ally and an anti-sexist. That's, okay, we need to be picking up on this, but that's besides the point. But like, one thing that I was talking about with my girlfriends the other day was how all of us that have boyfriends, or my friends that have boyfriends, all of their boyfriends have sisters. And there is something different about a guy that grew up with sisters versus a guy that didn't. There's something just about the normalcy with the way that you treat women and not being eked out over periods. And if women don't respect you, I'm like, then you probably don't respect women. But plenty of guys respect other guys that I'm like, actually, if a really bad dude respects you, that makes me worried. What about you is he okay with? Because if this is just the easiest example, like if Donald Trump really respected my boyfriend, I'd be like, hang on, there's something wrong here. But if Donald Trump really hated my boyfriend, I'd be like, hell yeah, green flag. I don't know if that makes perfect sense, but I think I care more about what women think than what guys think, actually.
Yeah, it reminds me of a line from Rick and Morty that I am a huge nerd and do love Rick and Morty, but it's one of my favorite, and I use it all the time. And it's a I've your boos mean nothing to me because I've seen what makes you cheer. Is what comes
Yes.
to my mind, and that's something that I swear to God I repeat to myself, a lot. But your boos mean nothing to me because I see what makes you cheer, and I think it's
Yeah.
particularly salient in our political climate, frankly.
Yeah.
Um, and and to our commenters as well, I would say the
Yeah.
same. Watch what makes
Yeah.
you cheer because
Yeah.
But I love what you said. Yeah, and I think that's so valuable too in terms of, you know, what don't look at how they treat people. It's you never look at how somebody treats their boss or how they relate to their boss. You always look at how they treat their subordinates. That's how you can tell the market, because everybody's nice to their boss. Like it's so many times it's like, like when I managed people, like, I would pay very close attention to what the people under my people would say. Like I would try to do skip levels. I would try to understand and hopefully be open and honest. Like, hey, if they can't, no, sometimes people have complaints that are ridiculous. Like, I mean, honestly, they're
Yeah.
not founded in reality, but you still listen. But
Right.
if I'm here, if one person says something, okay, but if all of a sudden now 3 or 4 people are kind of saying the same thing, that there's strength there. Like,
Yeah.
multiple people aren't going to say the same thing. So how does somebody treat those under them? If and that's how I would never promote somebody if multiple people under them. Well, I saw how they treated them, and I saw they treated them. And this to me goes back to the server thing as well. If
Yeah.
you're going to treat a server poorly, that tells me a lot about who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And how are you going to treat me? Because that's what's in your heart. Is how I see it.
Well,
So
in that which you have done to the least of these, thou hast done unto me, right?
who said that?
I think that was Jesus.
No way. Well,
I think so.
I don't know. I because at least not
Wait,
according to a lot of the people who are talking to me about it. I don't know. I don't see that out of Christians. I'm not sure. Could he have said that? Really? I don't know.
Matthew 25:40. There's no way he would have said that. There's no way.
No, it doesn't make
Not
any.
Jesus.
No, I know he didn't say anything about treating foreigners well because he wouldn't do
No.
that. No, no, we should get rid of
No.
them. They don't belong here. All right. Well, that could, if that was in a transcript, it might, I could be,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not what the transcript's going to look like.
That's not what the transcript's going to look like. Hopefully our track record will speak for itself on that one too.
I should hope. All right, number 5. So I think that number 4 here, I don't quite get, and I really don't understand the X and the Dreamcatcher tattoo.
Yeah.
And again, notice the homophobia here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to become her gay best friend because that again, notice the pull to homophobia, which
Yeah.
doesn't feel very good either.
If you can't use the woman as a sexual object, you might as well be gay.
Exactly. If she doesn't want you, you're gay, and
Right.
that's very sad.
Yeah.
The sad trope, unfortunately.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
number 5, your body language around beautiful women. You looked down when she walked in. You tucked your hands. You laughed nervously. She saw it. She felt it, and she filed it under, "This man cannot lead me through hell." Your body spoke louder than your words, and it whispered, "I'm scared of hot women." Gross.
That's weird too. Okay, I'm actually really enjoying reading this article because from the number 1, I was just expecting it to be more classic tropes of how just like very blatant misogyny, and maybe this is, and I just am not up on what those classic tropes are, but to me this is like, do I notice your body language around other women? Maybe subconsciously we all do, but I don't really care if you're like, I don't know, put your hands, like, you're nervous around pretty women. Gross. Like, no, I think you should just be respectful of them. And actually, if it's clear that, like, someone is just a beautiful woman, but we happen to be together, it's like we should be able to say, like, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. And then, like, my boyfriend be like, yeah, she is really pretty. And it not be threatening or weird. But also, I don't want to feel like you are, like, flirting with her in front of me. Like we said earlier, that's disrespectful. But this dynamic that it's like I want you to appear powerful to other women is just this very, like, odd way of viewing the world through power, right? And it's like being able to lead women is what women look for. And I'm like, I mean, clearly the author doesn't know what women look for. And it's like, yeah, I don't need anyone to lead me, my guy. I can get through hell perfectly fine on my own. Already have. If we're going to go back through hell, are you going to make that trip easier? Because let me tell you, if you're worried about
more fun,
right?
Like,
if
am I going to enjoy it more?
Yeah, if you're worried about leading me the whole time, it's going to make hell even more hellish. So it's like, don't even try. I don't know. What do you think about this? It just strikes me as odd.
Yeah, I feel like, well, number 1, being neurodivergent, I often look at my hands just naturally. I mean, for many years, it took me a long time to. It's just my natural inclination is to be a little reserved and shy, and that may come across as laughing. I mean, I do get nervous around new people. It's the way my brain works.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that I'm scared of people, and it's gotten a lot better. So I feel a little bit called out there as somebody who is neurodivergent.
Well, and also it's like, but that one thing that I missed is like that necessarily equates weakness too. But sorry, I totally interrupted you.
No, I don't. I mean, and it's kind of funny how this in number 1, right? Because, if I'm too confident, am I going to get eye fucked and then I'm on trial? But if I'm not confident enough, then apparently I'm scared of hot women, I guess.
Right.
I guess is what it is. And therefore I can't lead anyone through hell. First of all, I don't really want to lead people through hell. I'd rather us be in heaven if I got to pick one, rather than have, but I also think it's kind of arrogant. Like, only the man, like, I don't know, when I would feel like I would want to both have somebody who I knew could lead if I needed leading, or lead together, or, pick up, like, it's like that, footsteps. Like, sometimes we all need to be carried, whether you're a man or a woman. Like, we all have our hard times. Like, I would think you would want a partner who was there for you when you're through hell. Like, they're not leading
Yes.
you, but it doesn't run away with you. I mean, when you're in hell,
Well,
which
just hold your hand next to you.
yeah, doesn't try to solve it necessarily. I mean, one of the greatest questions you can ask somebody, and I look, as somebody who loved to fix things, give
Yeah.
advice or you know, uh, it's and I think men are. I think a lot of men are sort of taught to be problem solvers, right? That's like, and I found it very. Somebody once I heard this, and it's something I've tried to stick with, but to ask the question, like, what is it you need in this moment, and do you need a hug? Do you need help? Or do you just need somebody to be there, to hold space, essentially? Like, what is it? How can I be most effective for you? Sometimes people want advice, and it would be great,
Yeah.
and maybe, but let them ask. And
Right.
that's why I love that when I don't know what to say, I'll try to ask that question, like, how
Yeah.
can I support? What can I? How do you need? Do you need me to help? Do you need me to hug? Do you need a hug? Do you just need me to hold space? How can I be there for you? Um, to me, that's the question you ask, not,
Yeah.
I have to lead. Again,
I love that.
it does show the 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 mindset here. And
Yes.
this to me speaks so truthfully and so powerfully about you create your own reality, literally, because this is I don't want to, I'm guessing that this has been this author, this creator's experience. And it's because of their belief that this is true. That's what you're gonna find. I don't believe any of these. I mean, I do believe in nice shoes. I like boots. Um,
Yeah.
I do believe in treating people well, so I don't disagree with that. But a lot of these other things, again, I think it's just the misconceptions. Oh, here, this one you'll
Yeah.
like this one. Now we're back. We're back to the
Oh.
what
Uh-oh.
you may have been you may have been expecting. Number 6, what you order to drink. You got a fucking pineapple mango mojito with a sugar rim. You might as well have asked for a bra fitting and handed her your balls in a velvet pouch. You know what she remembers? That you didn't even look at the whiskey section. That you sipped that cocktail like it was a Capri Sun in kindergarten. You ever see James Bond suck on a straw? She wants a man with a throat like a graveyard and a taste like a villain. Not someone who drinks what she drank at her 21st birthday party before crying to a Taylor Swift song.
There it is. There it
Yeah.
is.
Glad we could get back to some of the misogyny and
Yeah.
really misanthropy too, I think here. So,
Yes. Well, and I'm like, this is just such a obviously very inconsequential, but like perfect example of how the patriarchy hurts men. Right? That it's like, if you fucking want a pina colada, if you want a cosmopolitan, if you want the fruitiest frou-frou sugar rim, cutie little garnish cocktail that you can find, please order it. I will have nothing but more respect for you and I'll want to try it because all my friends know anytime we go someplace with a really awesome cocktail menu, I'm like, okay, I'll probably be getting 3 drinks because I want to try as many different cocktails as I can because I just like trying them. So it's like when I'm with someone who orders a cool, fun drink, I'm like, great, I'll get something different and then we can trade sips. It's a great deal. On the other hand, I'll also say one thing that I have experienced a lot that I think it's interesting that it's the flip side of the same coin. I really do like whiskey. And it's something that like an old fashioned, if I don't know what to order, tends to be my go-to. The amount of times that I will be in a business setting or with some men, I'll order an old fashioned and I always get like a hell yeah, respect. And I'm like, why? Why? Why does that make you think that I'm cool? 'Cause I drink brown liquor? If anything, I'm rotting my liver faster. Like, they're why? Because I'm a woman, and women shouldn't like old fashions because that's a man's drink. And it's the same thing. Men shouldn't like a fruity little cocktail because that's a woman's drink. Just drink what you like. Just drink what you like. Why are you so worried about what other people think? I just, yeah. would love your 2 cents on this too, and what as a man, like what you experience when you order cocktails, and if that's something, because I know it's a thing too, where it's like it is still, unless someone feels really comfortable or they're with people they're comfortable with, maybe they wouldn't necessarily want to order a girly little cocktail at like a business meeting. And I understand why, and it's not necessarily because you necessarily feel that way, but because you may be with people that feel that way. Um, but then I'll throw out there too, like that's a great like little mini feminist act is to order a pina colada at your next like business happy hour, guys. Like that would be awesome. Even though it's so small and so inconsequential, what a great small thing you can do to practice
I love
and
that.
normalize.
I love that. So I'm going to be honest. I love the fact that you said you like whiskey because I also like whiskey, and it's what I typically order. But I will say, and people can come at me in the comments and remember what I said. I if I know what makes you cheer, I'm not really going to care about your booze. But my actual drink of choice, if I weren't well, if I just were free to order whatever I wanted, and I'll explain why I don't is a White Russian. Actually, I absolutely love, I adore White Russians,
They're
and
great.
they're that would be literally my go-to drink. Uh, in honor, of course, of the dude, because I abide, much like the dude does. But I've always loved that drink from a very long time ago. Uh, but for a long time, I was always low carb, and so I couldn't have that. Obviously, like it's a very sweet drink with the Kahlua
Yeah.
and whatnot. So my second was always just to do like a Manhattan or just straight like whiskey or scotch or something, which was only because I was taking it neat or just on ice with nothing in it, because you can have pure booze on low carb diets because there's no
Yeah.
carbohydrates, and so that's where I learned to drink whiskey or scotch, and I do appreciate it. But it is interesting, yeah. It's these little acts of I love what you said, and I think that should be order a order a order a the fruitiest drink you can if that's what you want. I mean, again, don't or do it as a one of the things I've done is just to prove to myself that I don't it doesn't matter, like I don't need other people's approval. And it's something
Yeah.
it was an experiment. It was very uncomfortable for me, but it's something I've been trying to do a little bit and introduce to myself, is doing these uncomfortable things. And for me, it's actually been wearing sunglasses indoors and wearing sunglasses at night, even to some degree, when I
Yeah.
can see. My eyes,
Yeah.
sometimes. Um, just because I I I feel so self-conscious about it, and I want to burn that out of me in some senses,
Yeah.
because I don't want to ever be beholden to what other people think or
Yeah.
care what other people think. And it's actually a very interesting exercise, and I think it's very similar to what you're suggesting in terms of, hey, ordering that, you know, what a Mai Tai or and I also do love pina coladas. I would
They're
if I
great.
would
They're
I
so
love pina
good.
coladas. They're the best. Like they're incredible. And no shade. Like I also do
Yeah.
like a good old fashioned, or in particular a Manhattan. I actually prefer sweet vermouth, but uh the only I don't like tequila, mainly because I got sick on tequila once when I was young, and pretty much the smell of it just
Yeah.
even now, 30 years later, ish, the smell still does me. The other thing I want to just say here is, again the language. Your balls in a velvet pouch. You might as well have asked for a bra fitting. Uh, I mean, like it was a Capri Sun in kindergarten. A man with a throat like a graveyard and tastes like a villain. Really? I don't, I don't, I don't, I don't think that would taste very good. Like,
No.
I don't, and I mean, I guess I don't know. Do you want a man with a throat like a graveyard? What does it mean to have a throat like a graveyard
Yeah,
exactly?
wait.
I
What does that
I mean, it
mean,
sounds good.
actually?
I don't know. I mean, uh, I don't know. Taste like a
Yeah.
villain? Well, I mean, smoke cigarettes. That's as villainous as I could possibly. Nothing, no shade
Yeah.
again though. But that,
Well, I'm
or
like,
smoke cigars. That's even worse. I
yeah.
stopped smoking cigars only because like the taste and the smell were just too much for me, and I couldn't. I couldn't handle. I always liked a good cigar on the golf course. That was always a fun, or a cigar bar can be a nice. a nice place to hang out. I wish more
Yeah.
women would actually go to cigar bars because there are too many dicks on the dance floor in cigar bars. But
Yeah.
it would be nice to have more a little bit of femininity in there as
Yeah.
well sometimes
Yeah.
because it. But yeah, I don't know. Again, I feel like this is very just sort of tropey. Although it
Yeah.
is, but there's a reason. I do think
There's
it's
a
funny
reason. It
because
does exist.
there is a part of me that is impressed when when a woman is like, yeah, I like whiskey. There's a
Well,
part
and
of me that's
and
impressed when a woman can drive a stick. That is
right.
that is something that is like that's what I try. I don't. I'm not saying it's right. I don't know if it's right or wrong. I mean, it's. I'm sure there's some sexism there. I'm sure there's some. There's. But it's just interesting how when you bring that to light, why? To your point, like why? I like this thing. Like we wouldn't say, oh God, I'm so impressed you like black licorice. Like,
Yeah.
which is, I mean, because whiskey is just an acquired taste, just like
Yeah.
black licorice. Like, wouldn't be like, wow, you're a real man. You eat black. Like why is it
Yeah.
black licorice more manly, frankly? Like that than, like I eat red licorice. I like Twizzlers.
Yeah.
Like, what does that make me? Again, I don't know. It's very interesting. I haven't really thought about these things. Maybe I need
Yeah.
to. Keep moving right along. We got 4 left. And I think we should just get through 'em. So number 7, if your voice changes when you're nervous. You think you're smooth, but your vocal cords betray you like Judas on his 5th shot. Judas was drinking. Okay. Your voice went up an octave when she asked you what you do. You cleared your throat too many times. You paused before answering. You sounded like you were defending a PowerPoint in front of the IRS. Confidence isn't about what you say. It's about whether your voice stays still while you say it. Okay.
Think confidence is about either of those things. I think confidence is honestly the most confident thing would be ordering the froofy drink because you actually don't care. That's what confidence is.
Amen.
And people's voices crack all the time for random reasons. And it's like, it's funny and you move on. Like, and that happens to women too. And sure, sometimes it can happen when you're nervous, but it's like, I also wouldn't, like, if it was a first, second, third date and the person was nervous, to me, nerves does not negate confidence. Confident people get anxious. Confident people get nervous. What you're talking about, or what the author's talking about, is fake it till you make it. And I would much rather have someone authentically be like, I'm really nervous. Like, this is vulnerable for me. And you know what? Admitting that, pretty
That's
fucking confident.
That's confident. Vulnerability is confidence.
That's 100%.
Being vulnerable.
100%.
I agree 100%. Yeah, my voice. I remember the first time I ever did a radio interview, and it was back in my corporate days, and it was just some NPR. It was cool. I like being on NPR. Love NPR. You can send me my lapel pin if you're listening. NPR. And I mean, God, I had trouble listening to myself, but there was a point where my voice just, because again, you're nervous, like your vocal cords tighten. I haven't had vocal training. I mean, so really, I mean, everybody should probably have vocal training. It's probably a
Yeah.
useful skill in life, actually, to learn how to sing a little bit, to learn how to project. I mean, it's a valuable thing. But I agree with you completely. It's focusing. It's trying to fix the wrong thing. Like
Yes.
it's okay to be nervous. Like
Yeah.
we don't have all the answers. We don't. I wish. I mean, but I also, again, I believe we make our own reality. So what's there to be
Yeah.
nervous about in that sense? But we're still human. Like our minds
Yeah.
don't get that. Our flesh body, our brains, they're gonna get nervous. And it's what makes us human. It's what makes us beautiful. And you know what? To me, especially if it's on a first date, like, I mean, wasn't it? I think it was Celine Dion who puked before every single performance. It was one of these. It was either Celine. It was some other
Whoa.
performer who you would not expect. But literally, I think it was Celine. Like before every Vegas show, I think she was in Vegas at some point
Wow.
for a few years. She would
Which
throw
that'll
up.
wreck your vocal cords too. If
Absolutely. I mean,
she's
that's how
performing
nervous she would
live,
get.
that's wow.
And then I was watching a YouTube of a former major league pitcher. And he was just, talking about what guys did in the bullpen. And he was like, some guys, like, they would puke right before that, when they knew they might be up, they would get sick every time. And it's just, again, and there was no, no making fun of it there. Like, so what is it? I mean, it's not about being nervous. It's what you do. Like, and to
Yeah.
me, I think it'd be, if I'm on a date with somebody and they're not nervous or like, I mean, if they are nervous, cool. Like, that means they care. Like, that's all
Yeah.
being nervous means. Like, it matters to you. Like, don't you want it to matter? Now, if you're in a committed relationship, I hope you're not nervous 10 years in.
Yeah. Right.
Then
Right.
maybe there's a problem.
Yeah.
But
I would
I
almost
mean,
find it endearing if someone
exactly.
was like, I'm kind of nervous. It's like, oh, they like me, It's like you care about this. You want to make a good impression, and that's sweet. And it doesn't mean that they're not confident. And I just so agree with what you're saying, and it makes me think of my great acting mentor, Catherine Hart. She always said, courage is not having no fear. It's looking fear in the eyes and opening your arms and saying, bring it on. And it's like that's exactly right. We all experience fear. And to pretend that you don't, you're just talking about lying then. You're just telling people to lie and to perform around it. I agree that vocal training everyone should have, and that's certainly I think like dance, vocal training, and like everyone should do a little bit of that, because it's like with dance you just get in touch with your body. Acting and performance, it's like public speaking, and audition prep is very much like the best prep I ever had for interviews. And voice training, it's like being on camera, doing stuff like this. I'm so glad that I had all of those growing up. So just aside there, I agree with that.
No, I'm jealous of you in some senses, because I never had any of those things. Like, I didn't do acting. I never had vocal training. And now, as an adult, I'm like, these are things like I have on my list. It's like, I want to
Yeah.
do some vocal. I'd like to try acting. I'd like to try improv. All of these things were in the past I was scared to do.
Yeah.
To learn how to use my instrument, which is my voice, better, and to take care of that. It's part of I mean, everybody's voice is unique. And
Yeah.
and by the way, if it goes up an octave, that's part of you. That's why should that be pushed down? Or I would just laugh about it. Like, I'm like, well, you can tell I'm nervous. Like,
yeah.
So for this next one, I just want to show my hands and because the next section has to do with hands. So just take a good look at my hands, because apparently it's very important, and you'll find out why.
Okay.
So did you get a good look?
Got a good look.
Everyone? Okay, good. So my hands, your hands. No woman has ever said it out loud, but every single one has scanned your hands like a TSA agent with something to prove. Are they strong, calloused, veiny? Or soft, stubby, moisturized, and look like you just beat level 46 of Candy Crush? Do they look like they could protect her or panic in a bar fight and grab the pepper spray? She noticed. She always does. Women judge hands the way men judge hips, silently, religiously, and permanently. So before you answer, I got to ask, how are my hands? Like, what's world, audience, life? What's your judgment? Are they veiny
Comment
enough?
down below.
Are my hands veiny enough? Which would not be an adjective I would ever use to describe my hands.
I just the insignificance with which I think anyone makes decisions about someone's hands. Now, have we all done the like, oh wait, how big are your hands with your friends, and you hold them up and see who? Yeah, because it's interesting. Do you judge someone's ability to defend you and protect you and be masculine based on that? No, I have never looked at people's hands. And hey, maybe I'm just the one in a million out there, because apparently all women do it, but no one would ever say it. But no, if anything, I'm too busy critiquing my own hands, because I think my fingers are short and stubby and I don't like that. It's like, I don't care about your hands. That's just such again, like,
bizarre.
what? Bizarre. Like, Literally, who hurt you? Who said something mean about your hands in middle school that you can't forget about, that you're putting it in this article? Like,
And why don't we want
weird.
moisturized hands exactly? Like,
Yeah.
our skin wants to, I mean, that's just like our skin likes to be moisturized.
And
Like
also,
it's an
I'm like,
organ.
I have calluses on my hands from like where my pencil sits because I write all the time because I'm a writer. I'm like, I have a callus there, and I have calluses on my from doing yoga like down here, and it's like, I'm probably not who you want defending you in a bar fight. It's just like I
But
just
if you
don't
need me
get
to
it.
write about the incident, I'm your gal.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And also don't love the addition of like it's how men study
Judgment.
hips.
Hips,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, but I suppose it does remind me of the like, if you're a cheater, you're constantly like looking and scanning for ways that your partner's cheating on you. It's kind of the same thing that it's like if you're the type of person that's constantly judging this one very specific weird thing about women, you're probably assuming women are doing the same thing about you. But really all that does is tell us who you are.
Yeah, I still can't, I'm still like, I mean, first of all, it, you know, uh, I don't understand this idea of a bar fight because nobody
Mhm.
wins in a bar fight. Like, like y- y- the smart man, the confident man, gets the fuck out of there before
Well, I
and
was about to say,
de-escalates. Like,
hesitates and pull out the pepper spray. I'm like, that would be my if someone was actually attacking me, please don't get yourself beaten up. Get the pepper spray so no one gets hit.
well,
Like,
even better, avoid the situation in the first place. Like, guess what? I've never been in a bar fight. You know why? Because I don't do things that would get me in a bar fight.
yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
avoid them.
because you're weak and
It's
not
amazing.
masculine.
Yeah, apparently
It's
my hands aren't veiny
crazy.
enough to be in a bar fight.
Your hands are
Whatever that
veiny enough
means.
to be in a bar fight, right?
I do have calluses, fortunately. So, and I like to think my hands are strong. I actually,
Yeah.
I have pretty strong hands. But all right, number 9, we got 2 more here. This one's interesting. It's a little different than maybe a little on the other side. Let's see. Number 9, if you hesitate before paying. That half-second pause, that glance at the check like it was laced with cyanide, that awkward shuffle of your card like you weren't sure it would go through. She caught that hesitation like a hawk on blood. You just turned a man, you just turned into a man with uncertain provision energy. Even if she, quote mode, doesn't care about money, end quote mode, she just pictured your kids eating government cheese while you cry about crypto losses. Good luck recovering from that. Wow, once again, thoughts?
Wow. So this is an interesting one because it's not just about paying or not paying, which, of course, the expectation here is that you do need to always pay. And I'm very much of the mind whoever does the asking out does the paying, right? It's like if you invite someone somewhere and it's like, hey, I would like to take you out to this thing, even if it's like a good friend of mine, and I'm like, hey, I'd love to take you out to lunch to catch up. I'm paying for lunch because I asked if I was taking them out, to take them out, right? Even if it's not a date. That's just how, in my mind, I think it goes. And so, yeah, typically men tend to do the asking out and tend to pay. But I'm like, if you are going to ask out, I think there's an assumption that you pay. And I don't think I've ever actually asked anyone out on a date. But if I did, I would expect to pay because I invited you, you know? Um, Kind of the same way that if you're like, hey, want to go to a basketball game with me? I'm like, that kind of assumes that you have the tickets, right? Like there's something there that's very much what I'm of the mind of. I can see how finances are a part of relationships. And I think that the like awkward shuffle of the card and the way that they're characterizing the body language to me just goes back to what we've said about confidence, that it's like, yeah, but also I don't want someone feeling like they have to pay and stretch their credit card if they don't think it's going to go through. It's like, then you shouldn't be asking someone out. You don't have the financial means to do that, and there's nothing wrong with that, but like maybe we should have a different conversation then. Um And I do think that it's not about your little provision energy, because also that assumes that every single woman wants kids and the whole food stand, like there's so much baked into that. Um, but to me, marriage is a legal deal. And if you're taking on someone's debt, it's like, well, I don't really care if you're rolling in it or not. Money has never been my goal, but I'm probably not going to legally take on someone's debt, you know? And it's so, I think that there are some nuances here. And it's like also how someone is with money. I think, kind of like with the shoes, it is a little bit like indicative of how you deal with other things. And if someone's in debt and they don't talk to a financial advisor, or they don't set up a budget, or they don't take care of, um, some sort of plan to get themselves out of debt or make a payment plan, or they're just not smart with money, do you bury your head in the sand, or do you make a plan and you get out of it? To me, it's not about money. It's about how you deal with hardships. It's about how you deal with challenges, how you deal with difficulty. Um, that one little snapshot, though, no, I don't think that that's a big deal. But I do think that money comes into relationships because it has to.
I agree. I mean, I think this, to me, this is again about expectations, right? And I
Yeah.
love how the assumption here is I mean, the unspoken words here is all women are actually gold diggers. Even if they say they
Yeah.
aren't, they really are. I mean, that's the energy of this, right? It's even if she doesn't care about money, because of course no woman couldn't not care about money, because there's no
Right.
way a woman could possibly be self-sufficient and provide for herself and not need a
Right.
man. So she needs to find the best man. Now, are there both men and women who believe that or who want that? Sure. I mean, there's definitely women who would agree with this statement 100%, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, and some men really want to be the provider. It makes them
Yeah.
feel good. And listen, I would love to. I have no issue with that. Like to me, don't money. I hate money. I mean, I don't. I hate that money's a thing. It's it doesn't drive me. I hate the fact that I have to even worry about money. Like
Right.
it complicates everything, and I hate the fact that you know money is such a big deal. Unfortunately, because to me it doesn't need to be, and it shouldn't have to be because there's more than enough. Again, I go off on a rant if I start talking there. Very interesting about government cheese. Well,
Yeah.
yes, again, you pointed it out, picturing your kids eating government cheese while you cry about crypto losses. So that assumes, again, all women just want a lot of kids. Uh, and, you know, uh, crying about crypto. I don't know where the crypto losses came from, frankly.
Yeah.
Because you're poor, but you have a lot of money to buy, to put into crypto, but lose money in crypto. Um,
Right. And
I don't know.
typically people who write articles like this, I tend to associate with crypto bros. So it's like an interesting at odds thing there
Yeah, again,
too.
there's a lot of self-disclosure here in my
Mhm.
opinion anyway. Okay. And number 10, this one I think this one you're going to like. So let's see, where am I going to stop because this one's long. This is the last one. All right, I'm going to stop here cuz part of it's like an ad for something the
Oh,
creator is
okay.
selling, and if people want to do that, they're free to go do that. I'm not going to necessarily
Yeah.
advertise. But so number 10, how you respond when she tests you. And she will test you. They always do. She'll throw little jabs, fake crises, strange demands. It's instinct. It's biology. It's how they sort the wolves from the lapdogs. You got defensive. You explained too much. You apologized for being masculine. Now she's smiling at you like you passed the test, but her attraction is dying like a candle in the wind. You're a boy, not a man, and she knows it. And then he well, so so here's where before he goes into the advertising, I finish the cigarette, flick the ashes into the ocean. She steps out of the shower, towel wrapped around her like a halo for sinners. Looks at me like I'm a stranger she wants to ride. Because I didn't fold, I didn't flinch, because I say the things no one else will. You think women don't notice? They just hope you don't. She notices everything, the shoes, the tone, the hesitation. And if you think she's not keeping score, you're already losing. Blah, blah, blah. Then it's a call to action. Most men most men won't do anything, but you're not most men, so buy my course. Um,
Right, right.
but
Buy my
so yeah,
course.
so I listen, if you're interested, link to this
You're
is in the
welcome to
description.
check that
Have
out.
at it, Haas. I wish you the best. I totally do. And same, but um, do you always test people, Reese? I'm
Um,
curious, because he
as a
says
teacher,
you will, and you always do.
right, I always do. Um, I'll say there was a period of my life where I tested people frequently, but that period was when I was a teacher and had to assign tests to students. Um, there's no the only thing that I can possibly say to make sense of this is like with this whole testing, keeping the score. It's like you are the only one keeping the score, and you lose so hard. You feel like well, how do I say this? Only someone who feels like a loser invents a game with their own rules that they have to be able to win. And that's just the biggest self-report to me. I am going to invent some sort of game with these rules that I have mastered and I understand and I know the secrets to all of these things, so I can't possibly lose because you feel so much like a loser. And what would it actually be like if instead of flicking your ashes into the ocean, which also I'm like, please don't do that. You think women like smokers? No. You think women like people who litter and pollute the ocean? No. Um, the only, it just, it makes absolutely no sense except to say that you deeply dislike yourself. And what would it be like if you just looked inside and looked at the piece of you that felt like a loser, that felt like you weren't enough? You don't have to invent all this. You're doing so much work. You are trying so hard to make sense of the game that you have concocted in your own head. And my friend, you do not have to. This author does not have to do it. But it's easier for them to make up these rules, to think that women are keeping score and passing these tests. It is easier for them to do that than to look at their wounds, the parts of themselves that feel hurt and feel not good enough. And so I would just invite anyone who feels like that, and if the author ends up listening to this, the author, to love yourself enough to give yourself the space just to hold up a mirror and to tell those hurt, wounded parts, like, you are enough. You are. And you don't have to invent anything else to be worthy. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you'll actually be able to be a worthwhile partner. But also, I just bet you'll be happier. You'll just be happier. Because I've never tested anyone. I'm sure I keep the score sometimes, and I'm constantly learning and growing, but I'll tell you what over 13 years of therapy has taught me is that anytime I talk about anyone else with any sort of vitriol, or I let any sort of fear or this kind of keeping the score, anything like that comes up for me, it's because of some insecurity or deep hurt or deep wound within myself. But would love to know your thoughts on all of this, because that last one, I mean, that's a doozy, and I have to imagine as a father and a husband, you don't feel constantly tested. But maybe you do, I don't know.
No, I don't. And I think that I've had struggles in the past because I would fail these tests, like because I didn't understand them. Or, maybe what tests, I don't know if they were tests or not, but I'm blind to the tests. So naturally I'm going to find myself, I guess, failing them. I guess. I don't know. I don't like playing. I don't know that I've ever had those games to be played with me personally. Or if they have, maybe that's why the relationships didn't go places. I don't know, because I did fail the test. And my view is probably that's a good thing. In terms of everything. Yeah, it's to me, this is just it's just more of this, don't apologize for being masculine, be a man, have a graveyard voice, and I mean, essentially be Jack Palance or I don't know, James Bond, and I guess there is, I think that I'm not gonna lie, even as a guy, I mean, there is something there in terms of at least what society has told us being masculine is like, oh, you should do all these things. You should drink whiskey and, black coffee and all of these different things. But to me, I think authenticity is true confidence. If when you can be who you are authentically, then you're naturally confident. You don't need, that to me is the sexiest, most. I want somebody who I want to know who you really are, not the mask you've put up. Whether we're talking romantic, friendship, anything else, and I think what got me so riled up here is because 30 years ago, if I read this, I probably would have believed it to some degree, or certainly pieces of it. And I think that there's a lot of men out there who, think that this is true. And because they start to, and I'm not necessarily talking about incels or anything, like there are no names, no anything. I think there's a lot of men who truly believe this is what most women want. This is the only way that, this is how you have to be in order to have a relationship. And and I think there are women who probably agree with this as well. And
They're out there.
yeah, and to me that's just sad. Like
Yeah.
I don't judge it. I'm not angry at it. I don't. It's sad because it just keeps us apart,
Right.
and it keeps, it keeps people from. I think what I really hate about it, Reese, is it doesn't allow the divine feminine and the divine masculine to meet,
Yeah.
and it creates a war. It creates a competition, which necessitates a winner and a loser, and that's and not and frankly, I think everybody loses if men and women follow this script. I think it's inauthentic. I think it's sad, and I think it's destructive. So that's my take on it, but I don't judge it,
Yeah.
and I'd love to hear another perspective. Why, if you're a woman and you there's parts of this that resonate, I'd love to understand why. I'm not judge it. I mean, there's something there where, but I'd ask, if things do resonate, either gender, whatever the case is, why? Ask yourself, notice that something in here stuck with me. It resonated.
Yeah.
Why? Is it true? Question it, like we did here. And listen, there's some truth in here. I mean, there's nothing wrong with shoes. There's nothing, you should be nice to servers and everybody, frankly. You should treat women and men well. You should be generous as much as you're able to be generous, and not beyond your means. Um,
Right.
apparently, you should have veiny hands. I'm still stuck on that quite clearly.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. It just what comes up for me is like an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind, and
Yeah.
in this kind of eye for an eye like game playing, I don't know. It feels so inauthentic, and
It
it's just not
keeps
a world.
us it forces everyone to keep their mask on. And I think neither of us want to live in that world.
Yeah, I choose not
I
to.
did wanna
I,
Right, right. I did wanna ask, though, because you said about 30 years ago that it might resonate, and earlier, like, the very top of the episode, um, you said you've, like, grown past a lot of this, and you're very proud of that. What do you think it is that allowed you to grow past it, and that, like, recognizing that, like, maybe when you were in a different place that this would have resonated, but now it doesn't? Why do you think that is, that that growth happened for you, and, like, how?
I think I more than anything. I mean, I think having a daughter really was a huge piece for me. But also just deconstructing. I mean, a lot of it. I mean, there was a lot of religious beliefs in there, the patriarchy. A lot of. I mean,
Sure.
I I grew up with bad examples for as men. The men that I was around, by and large, were not what I would consider to be high quality men. Were not good men, whatever that means. And I was very insecure and didn't know who I was. And so I felt very unlovable. I felt very not good enough. I felt very insecure. And so that led to things like this. This led me to say, okay, well, what can I change? I can't be me because that's what the word, that's what I believed. And um and now granted there wasn't the internet like the I think just meeting people like yourself, meeting other people that are good examples that don't believe, to see that there's people that don't believe these things. Oh, and by the way, the people who don't believe these things are actually really cool people and great to hang around with, and
Yeah.
the people you want to know and like want to be with and get to know and connect with and have as part of who you know. So I don't know. I guess it's maybe touching grass to some degree, but is part of the answer. But
Yeah.
I kind of say that tongue in cheek. But I think part of it is age as well. I mean,
Sure.
just but but again, just noticing and questioning. I think more than anything else, like why do I believe this?
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to pretend like I'm some angel because I'm not. Like I still. And there's certain things in here that certainly sparked, beliefs I didn't even remember I had and I had to examine them. And listening to your take on it was very insightful for me, and I hope for listeners as well to see that not everybody, no, this is not a universal truth. This is
Yeah.
somebody's belief. Are there people who this is true for? Yes, but it doesn't have to be, and it isn't the truth.
Yes.
So you have the choice whether you want to make this your truth, and if you do, okay, well, and he sells things to further cement this to be your truth. Go ahead and do that if that's, and I don't judge you for it. I don't think it's the best way. I don't think it's the best. I don't think it's the highest. I don't think it leads to fulfillment. But it's a game. If you enjoy playing games, I mean, this is a playbook. You know, it's there. So um I think again, the more secure you are, the less you need this stuff. That's
Right.
that's just the bottom
And
line.
and exactly what I was about to say when you said that. It's a playbook, and I think it is a playbook that is built not only on insecurity, but it's a playbook built to keep people insecure because that's the business model. You need to keep going back, right? So just with every crumb that they give you, it's going to tear you down that much more and tell you that you're actually not a good man, and that's why you need this course. And that's actually not uplifting masculinity at all. It's telling you as a man that you're not good enough, and that's why you need this course. So I would, yeah, just echo what you're saying in terms of notice. Just notice.
And be honest with yourself. Like what in this have you believed is true? And is it true? Do you choose to continue to believe that it's true? Do you continue to see do you see yourself as someone who has to have veiny hands in order to find true love? Or, you know, uh, uh, you can believe that
Yeah.
and it'll be true. That's the cool part. I mean, that's the thing that should make you say, that's the thing that gets me excited is, you know what? You want to believe that it's true. Have at it. Like, you want that though. And if you do, good. If you don't, well, know that it isn't true. It doesn't have to be true. And you can choose what you want to believe about women, men, who you are, who everyone is. So choose wisely and choose to your edification and choose to your joy. And none of this sounds joyful. This sounds difficult. Everything
Yeah.
we've read here, other than treating servers well and not being a dick, sounds difficult and challenging, and like you got to work at it. And if
Yeah.
that's what it takes to get the girl, like no, I'm good, thanks. Like fortunately, it isn't. And that's what I would say to every me 25, 30 years ago. Like, no, this is actually bullshit. I mean, full lock, stock, and barrel, most of it. And you don't need to believe this because you're
Yeah.
perfect just the way you are. Be yourself. There's only you. There's no one else that's like you. And every sock, there's a shoe. Multiple shoes, really. But you'll find your shoe, and your sock is beautiful just the way it is. And don't don't conform. Like, don't feel the need to do that. I don't know. And I don't know, what would you say to women who maybe believe this? That would be my
Ooh,
advice to men. We'll end on this. What would you
yeah.
say to women who maybe
Um,
have gotten sucked into this somehow and have lived this?
yeah. Honestly, the same thing. You're you're good enough exactly as you are. And you don't need someone to lead you through hell because you have already walked through it. You did that all on your own. And to continue being the one to tell yourself that you need anything besides yourself is just keeping you small. And everyone, men, women, non-binary individuals, every single person deserves to take up as much space as all of us has been given. And there are so many systems out there that want to keep you small. And I want you to feel as big and bold and bright and shine as brightly as possible.
Amen. Now that I can agree with. Agree with yourself. Agree about good things. Like,
Yes,
agree with
yes.
yourself that you're enough, that you don't need anybody else. You're perfect the way you are. But how much better to be in a symphony?
Yeah,
You may be a great violinist, but you know what? When you get together with the rest of the orchestra, you make something even better. And find your orchestra. But
yeah,
it doesn't have to be this way. So
right.
awesome,
Well,
awesome.
Dennis, thank you for bringing this. I really enjoyed this. It was certainly interesting, and I think it led us to some really great places. So thank you, and thank you to our listeners for being here today.
Wouldn't be here without you. We love you. Thanks,
Absolutely. We will
everyone.
we
See
will
you next
catch you
time.
all next time. Bow Down is a weekly podcast from the Cohere Collective that explores esoteric and empowered feminism.
Please subscribe to Bow Down wherever you may be listening. And if you enjoyed the episode, please leave us a like, a 5-star rating, and a review. And if there's anyone you think would enjoy this episode, or maybe just needs to hear it, please share it.
If you want to stay up to date on all things Bow Down, you can follow the Cohere Collective on any social media platform at the Cohere Collective, and check out other content and offerings at www.thecoherecollective.com.
If you're interested in working with Reese to find and pursue your purpose, I encourage you to head to www.thecoherecollective.com/life-coaching.
If you're interested in working with Dennis to shed your mask and embrace your desires, you can email Dennis at dennis@theheartstoybox.com.
A huge thank you to Jack Corbett for Bow Down's music. You can find him on Instagram at j.corbe. Thank you all for joining us today. We're so glad you're here.
And as always, we hope you feel like you are living more coherently. And until next time, love.